What you see here is the heated build plate upgrade for the Cetus Mark II 3D printer. It sells for about $49 US in the TierTime online store. Does it heat up? Yes, it does, to about 55 degrees. More on that later. Hi, I'm Colin. In this video, I'll do a quick unboxing and show you how it's installed, and then we'll look at some prints. I bought this heated build plate to solve a problem of prints occasionally starting to lift off the build plate. Now, this was usually when the build plate was cold at first use, like on a cold morning. And look, I'll also say that this build plate is generally very reliable, and I've never had to use any sort of tape or spray or any other kind of print surface. But I noticed some variation when the temperatures changed a lot throughout the day of printing. Now, they say to use a hairdryer or a heat gun to assist with print adhesion, and that usually works, but the problem is heating up the build plate evenly and then having it cool down again. The fluctuating temperature is what would then cause the prints to start unsticking. Now, this usually doesn't happen on a nice warm day, but I wanted to try and take out some of the variables. The bed arrives in a simple box and is supplied with 2 ribbon cables that connect it to the printer. You only need one cable, and a spare is a nice touch. The build plate itself is quite simple, and you can see that the heating element, well, it's quite basic. It's operated by the switch on the side, which becomes active once the printer is initialized. It's important to remember that. To install it, you need to remove your build plate and then remove the cover, and then using the ribbon cable, connect the build plate to the PCB inside the printer. Make sure you get both ends of the cable the right way around. This process is a bit fiddly, but it's straightforward. And the connector on the PCB is clearly marked, so you can't really get this wrong. Then put it all back together, and you're almost ready to go. Prints won't stick directly to the build plate, so you do need to clamp on the existing plate that you have, or cover the heated build plate with some kind of print surface. I'm clamping the old one back on again. Then initialize your printer. That then provides switchable power to the build plate. Again, remember that. A quick re-level takes into account that the print surface is now a few millimeters higher due to the old build plate being clamped on. And you're ready to go. First up, I'm using some eSun PLA+, and what I noticed was that the first layer and the raft just looked a little bit more sticky and shiny. Absolutely no problems with adhesion. And then when I tried to remove the print, it required quite a lot more force than usual. This thing was seriously stuck. Now, I will say that PLA Plus usually gives me less problems anyway, and you can see that here it will work with no heat or even up to 60 to 80 degrees, so no surprises really. The next thing I tried was eSun eSilk PLA, which recommends no heat or about 30 degrees, which is about room temperature on a very warm day, maybe if you're in a garage somewhere, perhaps. Now, I thought this one might go a bit wrong and perhaps just melt. The first few layers looked a little warm, but the print kept going without any trouble. Now, how hot was it? Well, you can see from this thermometer that the print bed was at about 55 degrees, which is actually the stated specification. I didn't have a fancy thermometer handy, like a no-contact thermometer. In fact, observant viewers will see that this is actually a coffee thermometer. The blue section is the ideal temperature range for frothing milk. But it's surprisingly accurate. With the plate still warm, you can see just how gooey the prints are. So I came back once they'd cooled, and you can see again that there's much more force required to get these prints off. If prints lifting off the print bed is your problem too, then this heated build plate will do a lot to solve that. But what about the print quality? Despite being cooked at high temperature, these prints looked very good indeed. Great accuracy and detail. And when compared with a print from a non-heated bed, you can see that they are very similar. The benefit now being that they can be printed at any time, especially when it's really cold. But the other great thing is that I can now also print with specialty filaments, like this Spidamaker Matte PLA. Wait a second, let me just turn that image around. This one was always a problem without the heated bed, and that's because it specifies a bed temperature of 60 degrees, so no surprises there. Now you can clearly see here that the first layer has gone down really well and almost looks flattened as it melts onto the build plate. On the right, you can see that the raft is forming very nicely. And the print progressed quite nicely all the way through with 4 objects on the build plate. And look, previously this was just about impossible. The result, well, this matte PLA is really nice. If you haven't used this before, this Spidamaker matte PLA, then it's definitely worth a try. And there it is, the heated build plate upgrade for the Cetus Mark II 3D printer. It's certainly helped to solve my problems of prints lifting off the bed. And now I can also use specialty filaments. If you've had that problem before too, then I hope you've found this useful. Thanks for watching. I'm Colin, stay safe, and we'll see you in the next video.